through. Come down to the front legs, make sure everything's cleaned off the front leg, nice. So bring the front leg up, push it through, so now you have a spot to hold on to it. Here's a very crucial spot on a coyote. This is the armpit of a coyote. It is very, very, very thin. So more or less let the draw knife do the work. I don't even put much pressure onto it. Pretty much just push the draw knife and let it float along. Saves yourself from ripping a hole in the armpit. Come down, work it through, bring it over, come to the other side, straight through. So, same thing again, armpit, very gentle, moving all the fat. Let the knife do the work all the way down the coyote. Okay, so we're going to square the coyote to the board, to the flesh beam. Nice and clean. So key is I like to run all the way down to the coyote, right down his belly on a straight line. Every coyote has tits on it, so we're going to avoid running our draw knife over them, nipples. You're going to end up cutting a hole in, so I like to take it down, push it through, like so. Come on the other side, feel them spots. Gently work over them, just save from ripping holes. Okay, on the other side, down. Making sure you push it right down off pelt, getting that bottom edge nice and clean. You don't want to stop up unless you're going to trim off. So I'm going to flip onto the back. So now I'm running straight down the back of it. Keeping a clean draw knife. Working it down. Open this layer of fat up so it goes each direction. Oops. Pushing it straight through, removing all the meat, lower end, fat. So now we're coming down the leg. So there's a line on the leg, a natural line of it right here. So what I like to do is run my draw knife down that and follow the tendons. There's some left onto the pelt. Follow them down, push it right off. Up, keep the hair out of the way if you can. pull it off with your hand if you have enough material to. Work it off. Get all these tendons out of the way. Remove them. Down. To the bottom foot. Moving all tendons. Other side now, same thing. Moving fat to the base of the tail. You want to keep your draw knife straight over top of you or underneath you so you can have control of it. You don't want to be working side to side motions too much. Definitely not pushing side to side. That's how the pelt can be damaged, cut. So once you've removed all fat, we're at the base of the tail now. So if they'll a tail splitter, you can use a knife, but we definitely want to open that tail up. So take it, stick it in, open the tail up. So everything is exposed. We want to have airflow into it so it dries, avoiding it to rot. Remove all the fat at the base of the tail. Like so. Push it off. All the fat will be removed. Now we're going to slide it back up to the ear cartilage. So we're going to remove the ear cartilage. What we're going to do is we're going to start cutting into the ear from the top, so the nose part. Keep working into that ear. Work it around. So we're at the base of the ear now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cut into it. Remove that. So now I've brought all that material down, the cartilage, and now I'm going to roll it and bring the ear through. So now this is the inside of the ear. This is the piece that we're going to take out. This is the back side of the ear. So pretty straightforward. Make your cut up to the corner of each side. Work in, cut it down. So now you can see I'm starting to expose it. Keep cutting through. Stick your knife into it. So now you can take your thumb, finger, and start working it down into it. And it'll find the edge of the ear, and that's where the seam will break. So you're actually going to run it all the way around that ear. Working it down with your thumbs. Taking it off. And just a simple pull, and there you've removed the ear cartilage. So we're going to do that both sides. Again, starting from the nose, working it right down into, removing it, pulling it through, finding the edges of the ear, the corners, down. Finding the seam again, working it down through, gently pulling, removing the ear cartilage. So what's left is a nice clean, no cartilage, dries properly. If there's any excess meat left on. So we finished fleshing the coyote now. We removed the ear cartilage, we've taken all excess fat, meat off this pelt. So this pelt is going to be very, very light, flexible, nothing left onto it to be boarded next. So once we board it, it's going to form the coyote properly and dry it properly. So one thing, if you're not going to finish out your coyote to the point of boarding it, so what you're going to do is freeze it now. So pretty straightforward. You want fur out. All the hide needs to be tucked in as best as possible. So fairly simple. Take the head, roll it up. Take the feet, tail, tuck it in, roll it to where it's going to make a ball, and store it in a plastic bag. Put it in, take the air out of it, put it in a deep freeze, come back to it. It takes, not very long to thaw out, so you can move on to the boarding process. So before you board your coyote, say you have lots of blood on your pelt, so you're definitely going to want to get rid of that blood, dirt, anything, mud, remove all that before you board it. So there's a couple steps to do this. You can wash it in a 5-gallon bucket. So cold to lukewarm water, not hot water. You're going to put a little bit of dish detergent in with the water. Take the coyote, put it in, submerge it, roll it around, work all that blood, all that material out. You're going to bring it out, wring it, make sure it's nice and dry, even hang it for half an hour to an hour before you board it. You can wash it in a clothes washing machine, same thing. Cold water to lukewarm water, definitely not hot water. So the next step is going to be boarding a coyote. So boarding the coyote is going to be forming the coyote to a stretch board. So they come in different makes from other guys. There's split boards, there's solid boards. Key to a coyote when boarding it is to make sure it's going to be long, not wide. You don't want to overstretch the fur wide, and you want to make sure it's nice and square to the board. This is a case fur out in the end of this coyote. So we need to put the coyote on the forming board, and we need to dry it for a little while so the pelt is no longer sticky. You can see here how it'll actually stick to my gloves. So we're going to pull down, get it square with the board, work it down, make sure everything's in order. So same thing to the front, going everything down. Now take it up. We start by pinning the coyote. So pretty straightforward. Make sure all fur is rolled out is key. Just attack, pin that fur out, bring it down to the other side. Another key thing is to make it nice and straight. We want to have this coyote pulled straight onto the stretch board. We want this coyote straight onto the forming board. Once it's straight, everything's going to align better for the graders at the fur house. So once we get it pulled down, everything's nice and straight, or straight across on the bottom of the feet. So what I like to do is take my knife, make a little incision, and then I can come down, follow that edge, and just trim it off. All you're taking is less than an eighth of fur off that edge. It's going to make it look a lot nicer. Trim it up, remove any excess fat, anything that was left on, fleshed onto the pelt. So very little waste. And now we can start tacking it. So take your tacks. Every inch, every couple of inches is good. Just as long as the fur or the skin is very open, nothing's overlapped. Come down. So we can take this, trim it off, everything, trim it off. So nice and square. There's a nice appeal to it. So we can take the outer seam of fur off, like so. Key here is not to get too carried away with removing your edge. Very little is all I'm after. So take it out, open. When boarding a coyote, what you're really striving for is airflow onto the pelt for proper drying. Now we can turn it to the back side. So now we can see the tail. So make sure everything's nice and straight to the board. We can trim off any excess fat. Okay. Come around, trim it off. So pull it nice and straight, pull it down tight. You don't want to pull over tight, you don't want to overstretch it. The more you stretch the pelt, the thinner the fur is going to be. You want nice, dense, thick fur, so just pull it tight. All you're doing is forming this coyote. For the graders to be able to have a good look at throughout the whole coyote. Come down. So nice, even. Down. We're going to open up the tail so the air can get at it. So the hair to the side, pin the hair. It'll open that tissue up to the point where the air can get at it and dry it properly. Come down. Keep opening it up. And to finish. Like so. Just like that. You come up to the face, so we can definitely trim a little bit of the excess meat off that we couldn't flesh off. So gently taking your knife, holding it pretty well flat to the forming board, and coming up and removing the excess meat that's left on. Right up to the lips. Come up.